Years of bitter partisan bickering makes it hard to remember when there was truly a healthy tension in our country in the public square between the left wing of the Party of Innovation and the right wing of the Party of Conservation. Now, when that tension has been fruitful, we have had a healthier body politic. American history affords numerous significant examples of bipartisan compromise and cooperation, and show us how the system can work.
Because I still think that there's a crisis of ideas in the United States, and in particular on the Republican side. And insofar as we may have big ideas, Obamacare was one, I think it's moved over to the Democrat Party, where the Republican Party, when it had nothing else at all, it really had a kind of intellectual purchase on a set of ideas that resonated with a lot of Americans, and that helped Reagan win by a landslide with an unusual coalition of the college-age vote, the female vote, and all kinds of voters that weren't expected to support him, and the famous Reagan Democrats. He was able to bring all those people together because he spoke to them despite the fact that they had differences among them. He found their common values. I don't see that happening in the Republican Party right now.
On the Democratic side, President Obama is now a re-elected president. By virtue of that fact alone, he has vaulted into the top dozen or so most important presidents in American history. It's a relatively small group of 44 that have been re-elected. If you get re-elected, you have clout that you don't have if you're simply a first-term president. So he's in a position where he can enforce a deal on the Democratic side. If he can find his counterparts, and I'm hoping that he can on the Republican side, I think a deal will be struck on the fiscal cliff, perhaps including larger tax reform. And I would go beyond this to say, I think the next big issue is meaningful immigration reform. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that coming out of the next couple of years as well.
In fact, every face on Mount Rushmore, it can be argued, is the face of a polarizer because they were great agents of change. Woodrow Wilson famously observed that if you want to make an enemy in Washington, try to change something. One of those faces, of course, is Theodore Roosevelt. Ironically, TR entertained fears of his own regarding political polarization. 100 years ago, this is what TR said: "It would be a dreadful calamity if we saw this country divided into two parties, one containing the bulk of the property owners and conservative people, the other the bulk of the wage earners and the less prosperous people generally. Each party insisting upon demanding much that was wrong, and each party sullen and angered by real and fancied grievances." His distant cousin Franklin took a rather different view of the situation as he battled the economic royalists in whose hatred he gloated, well aware that on election day, the ranks of the forgotten man far outnumbered the discredited titans of finance.
By reinforcing the status quo, we've taken away the hope that one party or the other would win a majority and could somehow address the fiscal cliff without the other party. So at least to the extent the fiscal cliff is a crisis, and to the extent that we have one party in the executive branch and one party in controlling the House, where the budgetary activities, as opposed to a foreign policy question, are most at the fore, we have the conditions right. Now the question then becomes, do we have the bias for compromise sufficient on either part to make that happen?